it's time to hang out with me. I haven't made a video for a few weeks and I've missed you guys. It's not that I haven't been hanging out. I just haven't been hanging out with you. I pulled my chair forward as usual so I can sit and stitch with you. And I have a little task to take care of first, and I thought I would just do this while I chat. I took all these flosses out to work. Grumpy, you're so sweet. To work on a project, and I've put the project down just for the time being. Is it here somewhere? It is. Let's see. It is called Salem Village by Not Forgotten Farms, and this is what it looks like so far. It's been really fun to work on. I think it's turning out super, super cute. But it feels like a spooky project, which is fine. It's just that I have some Christmas projects that I need to be working on for friends. So that's what I'm doing. But these flosses here, I'm rounding back to what I'm getting at here. Oop, that's blue. I had all these flosses out to work on that project. It's not that I'm not organized, but when I stitch, I kind of make little piles of thread and I pick through it and get what I need. It's just my way. And that's what I do. So, but now I'm going to put them away. I thought about packing them up with the project, but I might need them in the meantime. And, well, where did that one go? I might need them in the meantime, and I don't keep a lot of extra skeins of DMC. I kind of pick it up as I need it. Oh, here they are. I pick it up as I need it, and that's what I do. That way I'm not just continually buying DMC floss, because you pretty rarely use a whole skein for a project. And I guess I've had people ask me before what I use to organize my threads. I use this box to organize my anchor floss and my DMC. This is my DMC storage. And you have to stack the cards on their sides to get them to fit. If you put them in where the thread is on the top, the slots aren't quite wide enough. I don't think this is made for, I don't think it's made specifically for floss, but somebody somewhere figured out that that's what you could do with it. And I don't know how I found out about, well, I know how I found out. My friend Jen got one, and I was like, oh, that's great. Because mine were, you know how it goes, your bobbins and things get pretty, I don't know what number that is, 730 something. I have a batch of these plastic bobbins that I got a long time ago, and they've started, just like pieces of them have just started cracking off, and it's just this one, I don't know, just this one brand, I guess. I must have got, I don't know if I got a bad batch or what it was, but I've kind of switched just to going to paper bobbins. They're easier to write on. I use Sharpies on the plastic ones, but sometimes they get rubbed off a little bit and then it's just hard to see. So paper, I just feel like that's what I'm going to use. And hey, you know, I don't want, I'm going to be silly right now, but I don't want a tortoise to get a plastic floss bobbin stuck in his nose. But it is true. I guess the paper bobbins are environmentally friendly. And because they don't last forever. And okay, and that's anchor. I've talked about them before. This is one of the this is one of my paper bobbins that I made way back when out of some pink cardstock that I got. I was trying to conserve money. I think I was in grad school and Harrison was really little and we just didn't have a lot of resources. And so I made bobbins out of paper. And I still have some in my floss, so it kind of makes me happy when I stumble across one. That was 27 years ago. I was going to say like, oh, they didn't hold up very well. They held up just fine. It's just that a lot of them, if they've gotten any use, they've started to get in kind of tough shape. And so I'm kind of having to pitch them as I go through. There's another one. And my handwriting really hasn't changed much, I guess, since then. Peaches is peeping. So there's that. And I guess I'll stick these anchor ones away too. I think I had substituted a couple anchor just for the DMC. I really should. It would be cool to do 381. I did an anchor collection on my website where it was like 20 colors or 21 colors. And My collection of Anchor, there are hundreds of colors, just like there are with DMC. And my collection of Anchor, I don't know if you can really see. I'll hold it up real close. I kind of picked out, I had some that were brighter colors, but I kind of picked out like all the sampler colors, and I guess it would be fun to offer you guys a collection of just all the colors that I like. But sometimes it's hard to get, you know, I order Anchor and then some of them are out of stock or whatever, which is fine. It's just hard to organize things like that. I was thinking this morning that I was thinking about Weeks Dye Works, and there are not a lot of colors. There are a lot of colors of the Weeks that are considered, people call them discontinued colors, and there's not really such a thing as discontinued Weeks Dye Works. They have ones that just kind of mosey off their order page. They have colors that all fit on one page for shops. It's a PDF that you can, and I think you might be able to download it from weeksdyeworks.com. But, you know, they're just kind of like the colors that maybe didn't take off real well. They just weren't selling a lot of them. They're still available. So if you have patterns that you're like, oh, I can't find Beehive, Weeks Dye Works, your shop can order that from Weeks Dye Works if they have an account. But it's not that they're discontinued. It's just that they're not kind of considered, like, I don't know, core colors anymore. And so I was thinking this morning, and I've thought about it before, about offering, some of the colors are really pretty, like, and they go way back, like Beehive is one of them. There's like a white chocolate that's really cool. And I think they're just colors, they're not necessarily bad colors. There's one called Foxglove that's really nice. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll send Miranda an email and see about getting in a set of those, some of those pretty colors that I feel like we've come back around to. They're kind of prim colors. They're more variegated. But I think, you know, they would be really fun to work with, and they are very pretty. What I'm going to work on right now is my Kathy Barrick Village of Hawk Run Hollow. This is a piece I've had in my stash forever. I don't know when she released this. Does it say? I mean, it was a long time ago. Easily 15 or more years ago. Yeah, easily. But if you don't know, this is what it looks like. Emily C. just finished it. I try not to look at that too much. Once I start a pattern, I try not to look at the cover that much because I feel like it's a surprise. Like, ooh, what do I get to stitch next? So then, I don't know, that way it's just kind of fun for me, I guess. I'm working on my clipboard, which I said in my last video. I really am liking these just plain clipboards to keep my charts propped up. But the piece that I just finished, the Hawk Run Hollow City, whatever, City Hall, which is that square, last night. I think it's very pretty. Kathy did something super interesting with this one when she designed it. She slightly darkened the colors as she went across. So there were kind of 3 sections, and they fit together like this. So some dark went that way and some light went this way. So it was kind of gradual, not really like shading because it was blockier than that. But, and then the side here is darker, like it's on the side of the house or the hall. At first when I saw the chart, I was like, why is she swapping colors? But then when I get it done, it's like, oh, I see. And it's really cool. Another thing I've noticed with this chart, as a designer, I'm always looking for like ways that people do things. See these, where is it? This blackbird here, the blackbirds on the top of that tree, they're actually super dark green. Which I think sometimes, you know, it's real easy to go like, oh, what color is a blackbird? A blackbird is black. I don't know. I mean, when you look at it, you don't think like, oh, that's green. It just looks really nice. So this piece has been really fun to work on so far. You can see the fabric is X Jude Designs Grandpa's Sleeve. And I mentioned this before in a video, but I started it on, I think, what would be considered the back side of the fabric. This side has a lot more orange in it. And it's not really showing up on the camera very well, but it's a lot more orange on this side than this side. And even though this looks like super splotchy, it's like, oh, that's going to look messy. It really doesn't, because once you frame up on the pieces, you're only seeing little bits and pieces of the splotches. And to me, that's perfect. I don't know what she does, like what she uses. She probably drips dye all over it, but it looks almost like she does this and this, but it's really a neat fabric. It's a 40 count Zweigart based, I would assume. Does it have it doesn't have a it doesn't have the orange selvage on the side. So that's what I'm going to do. I did change my mind on this church. I was going to stitch the windows in just like solid gray or something like that, because I was like, that's kind of a little church. I don't feel like they had enough money for stained glass windows. And then I was like, you know what? I feel like they would have done a fundraiser to buy pretty stained glass windows. And who am I to second guess Kathy Barrick, right? I did. Is that right, Peaches? I did the borders. I'm stitching in an over dyed thread that's orange, and I don't know what happened to the skein I was working off of. So I've switched to something else, and I don't think it's the right thing. But I'm just gonna keep. If it shows up, I'll use that too. It's pretty close. But I'm remembering now, I think 186 is the color I needed to use. See if I've got it. 186. I'm trying to stitch it in the called for silks. I'm in the, this is a bedroom technically, and so I have my threads on rings like this, and I just hang them in the closet. Instead of clothes, I hang silks, which that's a good way to run your life, I feel. Oh, yep, and I have it. Sweet. Because I'm making this tree. I just started on this tree. And so let's stitch some branches. Oh, you know what? I'm going to open the window. I'll be right back. It's so nice that it's kind of fresh outside, and I love fall, and it seems like it took forever for it finally to get cooler here in Hattiesburg. I still was running the air conditioning this week. So it's like you just go straight from air conditioning and then one day all of a sudden you got to turn the heat on, and there's like no, is this, I'll try not to like blind you guys. Stitching chair. I'll tell you as a secret, the stitching chair I've had for, since we moved here. I think my parents bought it for us when we bought their house. And it's great, and I bought it as a stitching chair, and I didn't use it as my stitching chair for years. And then I did, and we got cats, and they kind of scratched up the fronts of that. And I've been meaning to patch it, because the chair is otherwise in good shape, but it's got scratch marks on the fronts of the chair. And so I cover it up so I don't have to see those scratches. And plus, I can wash this, since the cats like to hang out with me. I can wash it, right, Grumpy? And then it feels all fresh. About once a week, I just take my blanket off and wash it, and it's just as good as new. So 1, 2. The colors in this piece are really pretty. It's lots of, oranges and greens and browns. And I think it's going to look really pretty when it's done. I don't know why I waited so long to start one of these Hawk Run pieces. I've always liked them. I think it's just, part of it is it just seems like such a big project. I don't know what the stitch count is. So each square is about 90 by 90. So then if it's 3 across, it's 270 across roughly, and 360 going down. I guess that's a pretty big project. But kind of one of the cool things about this is every little square just feels like its own little project. So it's not like it feels daunting. You know what I mean? Like I do one square and then I go on to the next one, and the one before it, that one's just finished, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. But it's really pretty. And it's fun. I think it's kind of a classic design, timeless design. I just got Kathy's new charts in yesterday. So when I'm done here filming this video, oh wait, I better check the time. I kind of like to talk for about an hour. We'll see where we're at. It's 10:15. Okay, so I got Kathy's new charts in yesterday, and I haven't even opened them up yet. And I also got some Weeks Dye Works fabric in that I forgot I ordered. I ordered it a long time ago. The hand-dyed fabrics anymore are just getting so that it's just such a weight. And I totally get it. It's a lot of work, and there's so much demand. But, I mean, I ordered it probably July, maybe? And that's fine. Like I said, I'm not mad or anything, but it just was kind of a surprise because I was like, oh, I forgot I even ordered this. And it was, I got some chickpea in 36 count and some, was it beige in 36 count? I got some 36 count in. It seems like a lot of you guys like to stitch on 36 count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Which is great. It's not really one of my favorite counts to work on. Because I really like the coverage with 1 strand over 2 on 40 count. And then I really like the coverage of 2 strands over 2 on 32 count. So 36 count I feel like can be sometimes no man's land as far as like coverage goes, because it's like you don't want it to be too light, but you don't want it to be too heavy. Peaches is just kind of out of sort. Peaches, what's going on? 36 count. Sometimes though with the hand dyed fabrics, they shrink up a little bit when they're getting dyed. So like picture this plus, the 36 count I feel works more like a 40 count. Oop! What's going on, Peaches? You guys playing? But I struggle with the picture this plus 40 count. It's hard for me to I feel like it's hard for me to get my needle in through because it seems like it really tightens up, and I haven't found a super great way to loosen that up a little bit. Things are so pretty on their 40 count. I think I have one project maybe where I'm using their 40 count. A Blackbird Designs Quaker sampler. I think it might have been like in one of the books that they released at market. Maybe Shall I Compare Thee or something like that. Okay, so let's go there. 1, 2. One and then 6. It's fun to flip as I work on this project. Like I said, hey Ruby. I don't like to look too far ahead on the pattern to see where I'm going next. And so it's fun. Like last night I got to flip to the new page and I'm like, oh, it's Opal's boarding house. Oh, Opal. Oh, does she have dogs in the yard? I don't know what that is. It's really cute. I love stitching big blocky areas, especially like if I'm going to sit and watch something, because you just don't have to really think too hard to get it filled in, and I love the way the stitches lie. I like the way the stitches look when you just have a big block that's just all, kind of the same color. 4, 5, 6. The square that I just finished with the brick house, the courthouse or whatever, the town hall. It was a lot of, the bricks were different and then the mortar changed, and so there was a lot of, for a sampler, there were a lot of color changes, and I don't mind color changes. I just really like the way the stitches look when it's big blocks of the same color. I don't know why. I just do. So now we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I lit a candle. I really should drag out the Christmas candles because I'm just in the mood. I looked for a turkey this week at the grocery store. I get the honeysuckle white is the one I look for. And it never does me wrong. It never does me wrong to get the honeysuckle turkey. They're always really good quality turkeys. But they didn't have them in yet. And I think last year I got one of the last ones. I don't think I get it at Walmart. I don't think they get in a lot of them. But I love cooking Thanksgiving dinner. Now my stomach's probably going to start growling. So delicious. There's just like, to me, there's no happier plate of food the whole year. To sit down to Thanksgiving dinner, everything is so good. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just a big plate of happy. I oftentimes take a picture of my plate of food. And it looks like about the same every year because I always make the same stuff. I don't stuff the bird. My mom was a medical technologist, and She also is, she's super careful. Like, she's kind of a type A person. And I just remember that one year she was like, you know what? I think it's kind of gross. She didn't say it like this. This is how I'm saying it. She said, I think it's kind of gross that we're stuffing the bird, because, like, what if the juices in there aren't cooked enough and we get salmonella or whatever? So we started using a recipe of my Aunt Mary's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that she does hers in the crock pot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. She does hers in the crock pot, I think, but we make so much of it because it's great as leftovers that it's kind of one that you put broth in, you saute onions in butter, and I buy good bread. Like, I buy 2 loaves of really good bread from Breadsmith. And then it's kind of a weird recipe. I guess if any of you are interested, let me know, and maybe I'll post it somewhere. 3. So you get bread, you toast the bread. So it could be kind of stale bread, but it doesn't have to be. You toast the bread, just so it's, kind of medium or lightly toasted. So I toast about 1.5 loaves of bread, and I put it in a big bowl. It was my grandma's stainless steel bread bowl. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so I toast the bread, put it in a bowl as it toasts, and it's just something I can do while I'm working on other dishes. 12, 13, hang on, 14, 15. I don't want to make a mistake. So I toast the bread, put it in this big stainless steel bowl, and once I've toasted a 1.5 loaves of bread, you wet it. So I get the, my faucet in the kitchen has got one of those attachments that does the spray, like where you can spray. So I spray the bread with water. So it's kind of weird because it's like I'm taking the moisture out of the bread, but now I'm adding moisture back. But it's different. Like, it makes it crispy. I'm not sure. That's just what you do. And then you saute onions, and I do celery. I don't think Mary does. Celery and onions in butter. And you tear the wet toasted bread up, and you put in chicken stock, or you could do turkey stock or whatever. You could do vegetable stock too. It'd probably be just as good. And there's, like, salt and pepper and poultry seasoning and sage. I can't remember what all else, but you could, definitely put in things that you like in your stuffing. And so then the coup de grace, and this is a reason why we only eat it once or twice a year, is that you pour, when everything is all assembled, you've got, the veggies and the butter and the stock and the bread, which is all fat and starch, such comfort food. Then you drizzle cream over the top of it and you bake it. And it is good. But, it's really good. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So I do that. And it's, down south, I think a lot of people do cornbread stuffing, which I've never had. I'm not a big fan of cornbread. Jennifer and I were just talking yesterday about corn dogs. She said that her sister Bridget's husband Tim has never had a corn dog. And I said, I don't think I've ever eaten a whole corn dog. I don't like cornbread. And, I'm not much for grits. I do like, sometimes when you go get a pizza, and I haven't made homemade pizza for a long time. We should do that sometime. But I used to put cornmeal on the pizza stone, to help the pizza not stick. And it's kind of nice to have that little just kind of flavor and crunch on the bottom. But I don't like, so cornbread stuffing doesn't appeal to me, even though we're in the South. And, I think down here a lot of people do kind of what you would consider to be more traditional kind of Southern food, especially like at Christmas. People say they cook gumbo, and we do gumbo, I think Christmas Eve, I want to say, and it's really good. Christmas gumbo. Whoops, I split that thread. Right, Grumpy? She absolutely loves the craft room. She pretty much lives in here, don't you, Grumpy? Is this your room? She probably considers it to be her room. She's like, Teresa, get out of my room. I want a nap. Quit gabbing. She's so nice. She's so nice. You pretty girl. Yeah. I wish she had a different name. We did not name her. She was named by the volunteer from the shelter that found her with her tail hanging off out in public. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We don't know what happened. It was like a I guess like it got slammed in something. It wasn't like an attack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So anyway, so the volunteer like took her to the vet and had her tail situation repaired. They had to, I think part of it just fell off while she was at the vet's, but they, cleaned it up and sealed it up or whatever. Right, Grumpy? Do you remember what happened to your tail? We don't know. And then she had her fixed at the same time as long as she was getting knocked out, because it's hard on a cat to be put under. It's hard on a person too. You just never know. It's a tricky thing. 222-322. And so the volunteer, in the meantime, came up with a name, and she called her Grumpy because she has the same coloration as Grumpy Cat, whose actual name, a little trivia for today, is Tartar Sauce, which is also how SpongeBob swears. Oh, tartar sauce. Which is kind of funny. I always liked that. SpongeBob! So anyway, her name was Grumpy, and then the volunteer kept her at her house, but she was a feral cat. She was somebody's cat that got out, but she was not, she still, I can pick her up, but she doesn't really like it, but she does like to sit on my lap or near me. And she'll walk across me and things. It's just she doesn't like to be picked up. But anyway, so the volunteer was more of a dog person. And so she had dogs, and she had Grumpy. And Grumpy, like I said, was not only injured, but also, kind of a wild cat. And the volunteer just got to where she was like, you know what, I'm a dog person. I have no idea what I'm doing. So the shelter called, and they said, hey, we've got this cat. Would you be willing to work with her? I've done it a few times where I've, fostered a feral cat in the hopes of kind of rehabilitating it so that it would become, kind of adoptable as a house pet. And I didn't always have good luck. Grumpy, I would say, was my big success story, but really she's only accustomed to us. And so, we kept her for like 6 months, and she got to the point where she would do this, which is wonderful. It's lovely to have a cat that will sit with you while you stitch, isn't it, Grumpy? Yeah. And took her to the shelter, and she just was terrified, and no one could adopt her because no one could touch her. And she wasn't biting people. She just was hissing and shaking and just so afraid. So I just went back and grabbed her and was like, okay, I guess you're our cat now. And that's totally fine. Right, Grumpy? Because you are just so nice. But getting back to the idea of her name, we didn't name her. We didn't know we were going to end up with her. So you kind of just call them the name that they've been given. And, by the time we ended up keeping her, we had known her for 7 months and always called her Grumpy. So that's the, then that ends up just being her name, because we tried to think of something else, but it's like, well, we just always call her Grumpy or Gromps. And I feel like she needs a pretty name. I wish we had a pretty name for you. Something like Lilith or Lucy or some kind of a nice name. Yeah. But she's just Grumpy. And even though she's not grumpy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Grumpy Cat's not a grumpy cat. Just has like a sad 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sad expression. 1, 2, 2, 2. But I think, let me think. Our cats, most of our cats we did not name. We've got Ruby, we did name. And that was a cat that my husband kind of was considered my husband's cat, but really they're just all my cats is how it works out. And I don't know, it took us a while to come up with a name for her, but Ruby is a pretty name. And then Ty was named by the guy who found him by a tire store, Ty for tire. And then Zero was named by the vet techs at the clinic. And honestly, he couldn't have a better name. It just describes him. I don't know why. It just suits him very well. Dottie I named, and it just fit. No real reason. And Briar was named by someone at the shelter because she was found by the Briarwood Apartments. And then Fitz was named by the people who adopted him, and we babysat him. It was supposed to just be for 10 days. And it's just kind of a long story, but we ended up with Fitz. 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. And it's hard, you know, once you've known somebody by a name, I think even a person, sometimes people change their names. I've never been super crazy about my name. I don't feel like it suits me. I'm not sure why. My mom says she wishes she had named me Julia, which I don't know how I'd feel about that. My nickname in high school was Mona. I've talked about that on a video before. But I don't know, if I chose a name, I don't know what it would be. I liked having the nickname Mona. I felt like it was a little closer to my personality. But I mean, I don't even know what that means. You are what you are, I guess. Right, Grumpy. My middle name is Ray. My dad's name is Ray. And my mom's middle name is Teresa. So that's where I get both my names. And I can't remember. I think she had said they were considering another name for me, but I can't remember what it was. It's a big deal to pick out someone's name because they're, you know, stuck with it for their whole life. And I think people sometimes make judgments on you. Not, you know, not harsh judgments, but it's like based on your name. Which, I don't know if it's just, you know, associations with other people that we've known with that name. I know sometimes when people are going to have a baby, they try to pick names and they're like, oh, how about George? And they're like, oh, no, I knew a George. I hated that guy. So it's like, then the name is tarnished. Nobody names their baby Adolf. Like, that name is just done forever, which is fine. I knew a guy, he was in speech and debate. Oh, no, it was one of our speech and debate people from Shanley, Carla, I think. And her dad's name is Edfred. Edfred, all one word, Edfred. And he was named after the two farmhands at her parents' farm, or, you know, at her grandparents' farm. They just really liked these two farmhands, so they named their son Edfred after Ed and Fred. I think it was her. I think that's funny. Stitching branches. It's pretty. Very pretty. Did I? Oh, I did. So where am I? Did I do this right? 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Yes, I did. 2, 2, 4, 1. I almost kind of wish I had started this piece at the bottom because I like stitching from the bottom up a lot of times. I like the way the stitches look better, but I don't. 2, 2, 4, 1. I always start in the upper left corner though. That's just where I start. I used to start in the middle, but I feel like a lot of times with samplers, it's more, you know, not better. It just kind of seems like it's more appropriate to start in the upper left-hand corner. I don't leave a huge allowance. Usually about 2 inches is enough for me, because I don't mat anything, and so it doesn't make a difference really to me to stretch it. Obviously, if it gets too close, it's going to be a problem, but I haven't made one of those boo-boos in a long time. Some people really struggle to figure out how big to make their fabric. And I'm pretty sure that there are places online that it's called like a, oh, what is it called? It's like a calculator, like a stitch count calculator, where they help you figure out how big your fabric needs to be. So you just type in basically, the stitch count up side to side and up and down, and then the count fabric that you're using, and you hit a button and it'll tell you how big your piece is going to be. And then you have to add your margin all the way around. So you basically add, if you wanted a 2-inch margin, you add 4 inches to each, so that you've got 2 and 2. But I don't have much of a problem doing that. I had a lady come in once, and oh boy, she had stitched right up to she had like a 1/2-inch margin or something. I mean, it was, or less. That was a long time ago, back when I was a teenager and working at the Great Frame Up. I still remember that, because it was a tricky one to stretch. I think we ended up using the sticky board. And I did a Save the Stitches. Where is it? I think it's over here. I'm going to grab it. I did a Save the Stitches at the Lucky Rabbit last week. I found they had a couple of Prairie Schooler Save the Stitchy kinds of things. Oh, maybe I don't know where it went. Oh, I got it. And so I over-dyed it with coffee tea, some other things. And so that's what it looks like now. And it's, I don't remember which Santa that is, but it turned out really cute. And so I think I'm going to, here's kind of my hand for size reference. Here's a rock ham for size reference. I think I'm going to, I don't know, I'm going to pop him in a little frame. Is he too big to hang on the tree? Let's fold this up and see. She left a lot of fabric at the top and bottom. Oh, I could make it into an ornament, I betcha. Don't you think? That's not too big. Maybe I'll do that. I really want to make, there's just not enough hours of the day. I was thinking it would be fun next year to do, I don't have a lot of stitched ornaments. I've given away a lot of stitched ornaments, but I don't have a lot of them. I have a few that I've received as gifts, and a few that I did way back in the day that I stitched. And I was thinking it'd be cool to put up a tree in here. And so like I could do something next year, like every 2 weeks have a goal of stitching a little sampler motif or something and make ornaments. So I'd have 24 ornaments at the end of the year, which would be a good number. For that one, I'm thinking I might use one of Vanna's tutorials. She's got such good tutorials up. And it would be fun to, learn to do like her flat folds or her ornaments or her tags or whatever. I have certain floss tubers that I watch as background noise. I mean, I hate to say that I relegate them to background noise, except for that I'm usually re-watching videos of theirs. So it's not that I'm not paying attention to them. It's just that I find them very soothing. And for some reason, Vanna's tutorials, to me, are just very soothing. Because she's very methodical, where she says, like, okay, now we're going to do this, and everything, it's just reassuring. It's a process. I don't know. There's just something relaxing about Vanna and her tutorials. But I think they're good tutorials, and I haven't really, I don't know that I've, been like, okay, I'm going to do a project and I'm going to make this. But they're very good tutorials. So I really should give one a try. Because I think once I did it once, I would know how to do it. And her technique on the way she does some of the things is kind of the way I've done some of my things, in a way. But she's really thought hers through. And then I listened to, okay, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I listened to Dina at Half Stitch Cross Stitch. She's very, very sweet, and I also find her, she's just so sweet, and her voice is so soothing to me. Am I gonna not come out right on this? That's fine. What happened? So let's see, Dina, I listened to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, nope, I did. It's all good. I mean, I would say those are my big two. Bendy Stitchy, when she does like her Stitch With Me's and things, I'll put her on in the background. This is kind of like sitting and just chatting with somebody, which I like. And I like documentaries as background, even if I'm not really paying attention. Maybe I'm soaking it in somehow, the information. You know, we used to believe that if you like went to sleep with headphones on listening to like vocabulary tapes that you would gain all this knowledge. I'm not sure that really works that way. I don't think it does. I don't think so. Pretty branches. I actually ordered, I've been trying to use out of my stash for threads for this, and most of these I had, some I didn't, and I ended up breaking down and ordering a couple skeins from one of the shops on Etsy. I don't remember which one it was now. 2222. But so that I would have just the right colors. I don't mind changing colors on a sampler. This one of them was just like they needed, like the numbers were like 313, 315, 316. And I was using, on one of the squares I used 315 as a substitute for 316, but then this last block I worked on had both of those numbers, so I couldn't really substitute the color for the other color when the first color was on there. Does that make sense? So I was like, you know what, I'll just break down and get two skeins of silk. So I did, and I'm glad I did. The needlepoint silks are really nice on the 40 count, I find. Very, very pretty. Pretty colors. One of the things, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3, 3, 3. For next year for the zine, you know, I'm making plans in advance because I'm working on this latest issue, but then really I got to, you know, turn around and kind of start on the next issue. Plus I got to start getting ready for Nashville Needlework Market. But I would like to make next year, kind of make Kathy Barrett kind of the featured designer of the year. She really is just one of my absolute faves. And somebody's howling back there. Sometimes the cats get excited if there's like a lizard. We have lizards here that crawl up on the windows. And they kind of have a special call they do when they see a lizard. They like it. If one gets in, it's dead. I had one get in. They're little. They're just like this big. And they puff their throat out when they're, I think, in their mating season. And that's kind of red. Is that right? But one got in the other day, and I didn't see it get in, but when I came into the kitchen, there were like 5 cats in a circle around a dead lizard body. They were just like, everybody was watching it. So it was like a big toy, and then their toy didn't work anymore. So poor little fella got thrown back outside. It's a circle of life. Is that right, Ruby? What's going on out there? Yeah. Did you get excited? She's our oldest cat. And our healthiest. She just never has any, you just never have any problems, do you, Ruby? Huh? Do ya? You have pretty green eyes? Yeah? You gonna sit with me? Three, 3, 3. My husband was out of town, 432. He gets back late tonight. He went to a conference for work. He took my car down to Gulfport to catch the plane. And my car has a lot of miles on it. It's a 2008 Rogue. And it's got like 135,000 miles on it or something like that. And he got a new car this summer that's not a new car. It's an old car. And it's very fancy. He got a Mercedes, which is amazing. And it was one of those cars where one guy built the entire engine and the guy's name is on the engine. It would be fun to find the guy. But anyway, it was a used car. So it was also like a 2008 and had like, 80,000 miles on it or something like that. So we got it for less than $20,000. It was a $100,000 car when it was new, which is crazy. I mean, I don't know how anybody could pay $100,000 for a car. But $18,000 is pretty reasonable, I feel, because these cars will go for, 400,000 miles because they're just built super great. And it's sporty, and it has a convertible top, and it has heated seats, and it has cooled seats, and like massagers. So I'm driving his car this week, and I've been in his car. He mainly uses it just to get to work and back. But I hadn't really driven his car, so I've had to drive it a few times this week, and it's very fancy. It's very comfortable as far as sports cars go, but it's one of those where you have to kind of get down and into it, like putting on a shoe, like the foot going into a shoe. And so it feels weird to be sitting so low. What was I going to say about that? It's not the best car for me. It's a great car for him. I go get groceries and things, and the trunk is pretty small. So I've been driving his car this week. Jen and I went and took a quilting class yesterday in Wiggins, which is about a half an hour out of town. And it was really fun. And I'm actually going to go back this week because they're having a project bag class for how to do the vinyl front bags. And it's free if you buy the $12 kit that goes with the class. And the bag is cute. It's a smaller one, so it'd be good for like the small size charts, like the half size charts if you had a small project. And it was really cute. And I didn't notice this, but Jen said, "Oh, did you see how they did the edges?" Because she really looks at the edges and the corners, like how they're done. And I guess they do it with binding, like a quilt, is what she said she noticed. And so it'll be fun to learn how to do that. And that's Thursday morning at 9. Because I'd like to learn. I've watched videos and I made some, but they work for me. But I would like to learn how to make them properly so that I could sell some in my store for the animal shelter, for the new section that I'm putting up. Because I have lots of fabric, and it would be, I could have a Sunday where I just make project bags all day and then, raise some money for the shelter, right? For the animals. Yeah. You're so nice. I love that cats keep themselves clean. To me, that's really one of the best things about a cat. Okay, did I do this correctly? So there's that. And this one's got to come down off of where? 3, 4, 5. Dogs do not keep themselves clean. Not really. Right, Ruby? And giving a dog a bath is not the best thing to do. Not my favorite. It's fine. I've washed a fair number of dogs in my day. And our dog was always pretty good about it. My dad used to take his bulldog in the shower with him, I think, which is funny. She was an English bulldog, Sydney. I've also washed a fair number of cats in my day. And we had a long time ago, probably 7 years ago, at the shelter, we had an outbreak of an illness that was really serious, and they were having to wash, you know, just disinfect everything. And even though it was something that the cats couldn't catch, you know what I mean, they still could transmit the disease, I guess, by just contact or whatever. So we had gotten together as an organization and we're trying to kind of make a plan, and the shelter director at the time said, does anybody want to wash the cats? And I said, I will. And everybody was like, oh. And then I got known as the cat washer because I just went in and I washed all the cats. My husband and I went and we did a pretty good job. They don't like it. They do not like it. No, I mean, some cats do, but it's more common that a cat does not like a bath. And the trick is to be quick, to you know, try to stay as calm as possible. 3, 1, 1, 2, 1, and let them have all 4 paws on something. So don't hold them up with their legs dangling and try to wash them. You got to let them put their back feet in, like if you're in a sink, put the back feet in the sink and the front feet maybe on the side of the sink, you know, like up on the counter. And if they feel like, okay, I can get away if I need to, I feel supported, they tolerate it much better. But you just have to be ready. And if you can do it with 2 people, it's much easier. But luckily we don't have to do baths very often, do we? Huh? I don't know. Oh, I guess I gave Zero a bath recently here. He's got an autoimmune thing with his mouth, and so he what did I do? 3, 1, 1. See, I'm talking to you guys and I'm making mistakes. I'm going to fix that one. He's got an autoimmune thing, so his mouth hurts a lot of the time, and we have had most of his teeth removed. But his mouth is still sore sometimes, so it's hard for him to eat, and he struggles to clean himself a little bit now too, because it's just kind of his mouth is sore. And we have some, god dang it, gosh darn it. So when he cleans himself, he gets real drooly, and he just was to a point where he was, I am struggling with this silk, come on dude. He struggles to keep himself, when he cleans himself, he just ends up soaking wet. And one day I just was like, you know what, I'm going to give that poor guy a bath. And he did pretty well. But then he was cold, so we had to sit and hold him in a blanket. Ooh, I'm at the end of my thread, and it's like, ooh, can I make it these last 3 stitches? I think I can. What I really want to do is get to that house. Can I? Yeah, I can. That's what I'd like to do. Let's see if I've got that color, though. What color is it going to be? That's why it's like little presents, you know, if you don't really know in advance what direction you're going in as far as the chart, it's a surprise. I think I actually have a frame that will fit this piece. I used to carry sometimes the Primitive Traditions frames, and I don't think they make frames anymore. They used to make those frames that were like really wide, and then they were painted. They were very kind of colonial looking. And Kathy Barrick, I know used to use them a lot. And then Primitive Traditions had some charts that they used them for. I used them on a few. And I think I have one left that was, I got in for the Christmas at Hawk Run piece. And I'm thinking they must be pretty much the same size, these pieces. So it might fit. I'll have to get that out and see if that's going to work. I think it's even still in the wrapper. I don't think I've ever taken it out of the paper that it came in. What should I do, guys? Chimneys? Maybe I'll do the chimneys first. X. Number 915. Do you think I have it, Ruby? Do you think I do? Oh. Dogs are barking. There it is. 186, right? There are a lot of colors in this piece. A lot. A lot. The thread list is pretty long. What did I say, guys? It was X915. I gotta make something good for dinner today. I kind of have been slacking the last few days. Okay, I don't have it here, so let's see if I have it 915. I'm gonna look on my ring of needlepoint silks. 915, 915. See if I've got it. Da, da, da. 904. No, it's not there. So I've got one more place I can look. Right, Grumpy? I've got a drawer back here with just kind of miscellaneous threads in it. And I've got some silks in here. So let's see, what color is 915 going to look like? A maple brown. It's like $8.69. A lot of what's in here is white, which comes in handy. I don't know how I ended up with so much white. This is, you know, kind of remnants from my shop days. I don't stock a lot of the silks anymore. I'm stocking some Gloriana and some Thread Gatherer, which I like. I haven't had anybody ask me for needlepoint silks at all, which is what these are. Kathy Barrick uses them. They're lovely, and I don't think it's that I wouldn't ever stock them. I just haven't had anybody ask recently. And, okay, so I'm looking for maple brown, 915. There it is! Ta-da! Where was I going with that? I don't know. There are so many colors of the needlepoint silks. I mean, it's like 450 colors or something. And a lot of them are colors that that probably wouldn't really get used very much. Hi, Z. See, he's all wet. Are you all wet? Did you give yourself a bath? Yeah. Oh, okay. As long as I've got you guys here, and I'm going to open the skein, I'm going to show you how to open a skein of needlepoint silk. There's a way I do it. Okay. All right. So, comes in a little paper tube like this. The yellow wrapper is what they used to wrap them in, and now they get wrapped in like a white wrapper. So the first thing you do is you slide the wrapper off and you throw it over your shoulder. That's what I do. I'm just telling you how I do it. And I've got my pink cat scissors. So if you have cat scissors, they're good for it. So it's twisted like this. And what you do is you look for the area where there's a little knot. Okay? So I just kind of gently kind of untwist it. And I look for that knot. Okay? Now this is the way I do it. So you may do it differently. So, and now that makes a big, actually, let's do this. A teacup. A witch's hat. So you've got your round tube of thread. What I do, for me, the way I measure my thread is I go about to there on my arm. You know, I go to about here. This is just slightly longer than where I go to. That's where I go to. So that part of your arm. But it's pretty close to the length of thread that I like to use. So what I do, and what you can do, and I've done this before too, is you can use a needle to pick the knot apart if you want to make the lengths exactly the size you want. But what I do is there's the knot, and I just cut right through the knot, and then all the, pieces leave. And then the other way around, I make another cut there. And then that makes 8 lengths of the silk. And I just do it right when I take the skein apart, and then that way everything is ready. It's not likely that I'm going to want a longer or shorter piece than that. Right, Z? So that's how I do it. And it was number 915, and we're going to make chimneys. We're going to make some chimneys. And it looks like I'm out of thread drops, so I get to make some more today. Do you want to sit on my lap? Yeah? Come on. Oops. And then really you just work with these the same way you'd work with regular floss. You just kind of tap it, It's not wanting to come apart at that end, so I'll tap the other end. Well, this silk doesn't want to be used. Oop. I think I might take a walk later too. I'm trying to take walks. We live in a big neighborhood. We live at the front of it, so it's kind of fun to go to other parts of the neighborhood because I just don't. There's no reason for me to go back deep in there except if I'm taking a walk, and then that way it's all enclosed. Because really, once you leave our neighborhood, it's a pretty busy country road, and the speed limit is 55, and so it's not. It wouldn't really be a great place to take a walk. It would be pretty, but it's just not something I'm interested in doing. Okay, so we're gonna go there. When we first moved here, there used to be even horses just along. There was zero. There was a place where they had horses, and you'd see them riding their horses sometimes. And no. And you'd see horses sometimes, people riding horses and talking on their cell phones, which I think is very funny. It's very, it's like here and then. Back in the day, people rode horses. Now they ride horses and talk on their cell phones. It would be interesting, like, what if, hypothetically, cell phones just disappeared? Like, for some reason, I don't know, all the cell phones disappeared. I think people would go crazy. It's funny how, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, how used to something you get so quickly. I remember thinking, when cell phones were kind of new, thinking they were sort of pretentious. Like, oh, what? You're so important that, like, someone has to be able to get a hold of you at all times. I mean, you could see it with, like, a doctor or that kind of thing, but it's now just everybody has them. I need to get a new one. My screen is cracked. I dropped it on the day that Donald Trump was elected president, and I don't blame it on him. I just remember that that's the day. It is in no way his fault that my cell phone is broken. I got out of my car and it was on my lap, and I dropped it, and so the screen is cracked, and I haven't wanted to repair it. This was, 2 years ago, because he's been president 2 years already. And I've just been putting up with this crack on my screen. It's still totally usable, but I was like, oh, you know what, this cell phone is probably not going to work forever anyway. I'm not going to repair it because I'll probably need a new one soon, but it's been 2 years. But I think it is starting to go. I'm just going to use it a little bit longer because they sure have gotten expensive. And they don't give them away free anymore. It used to be that your cell phone was free if you signed a plan. And now it's, at least where we go, they just work it into your bill, so you kind of just pay a little bit each month towards purchasing your cell phone, which is just how it goes. Right, Zero? Making a chimney. This piece feels very fallish to me, even though it's not fall specifically. I had somebody contact me yesterday, and she was wondering about the Hawk Run pieces. She said, I know there's a Halloween and a spring. Is there spring at Hawk Run Hollow? I think. She says there a summer and a winter, and there's Christmas. And but there's, I don't know. It's not like she's done all 4 seasons. And Kathy doesn't design the Hawk Run pieces anymore. She may help Marty. I'm not sure. Her sister Marty bought her chart business from her because I think Kathy, this would have been like 5 or 6 years ago, Kathy kind of announced that she was just kind of retiring from designing. And people, were sad, and so, I ordered in a whole bunch of her charts. But then her sister Marty decided to buy her business from her so she could continue selling her charts. And Marty has designed now too, and she's got some really cool patterns. One of them that I really like is called 3 Chairs. It's in my shop. But it's, it's kind of a similar look to Kathy's, but different also, which is you would expect. But Kathy didn't do like a, you know, seasonal, like all 4 seasons necessarily. And like the Halloween one, she has arranged so that it's up and down, and there's a like a topper to it. My favorites are the village and the houses, and I think those were the first 2. And then there are elements of the others that I like. But the autumn one is pretty. It's got a really cool turkey on it. Some of them I think would be fun to just do. Might be fun to do. Might be fun. I don't know. I'm thinking. Might be fun to like recombine some of them. She has a year at Hawk Run too. I think maybe Marty designed that one. But they're so cool. They're such cool pieces. People love them. But it is quite a threadless, like I said. And she's got a DMC conversion. And you totally could sub out. You totally could sub in some hand-dyed fibers. I've really moved away myself from using some things that are super variegated. I would maybe use it for things like these leaves, where you're just doing like 6 stitches for each leaf, because it would make them change color as you stitched. But I like to use the fabrics that have a lot of, you know, splotches and stains and things going on. And I feel like if you get a lot of variegation going and a lot of splotches, it just gets really busy looking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's not my favorite thing. But it is fun to stitch with variegated thread, because it's fun to see things change color as you go. But I kind of like the idea of this just kind of being just flat colors. Like I said, I'm using an over-dyed for the borders. But otherwise, I'm just using solid colors. And that's what's working for me. I was going to make some pumpkin muffins. I had this really great recipe for pumpkin muffins that an old friend of mine gave me. And it's a super weird recipe because they're very good. They're super good. Super, super good muffins. And I put miniature chocolate chips in them, and I just found that Jardelli makes a miniature chocolate. Well, I mean, they maybe have done it for a while, but our grocery store just started carrying them. But the recipe, you make it, and it's normal. The fat that you use is Crisco, so of course they're good. Crisco, like solid vegetable shortening or whatever they call it. Remember when people used to call it oleo? Like margarine was called oleo. Sometimes I come across a recipe that I've gotten and it still says oleo, and I think we should bring it back. It's kind of a cool word. I don't know if it's supposed to sound like, what do you think, Zero? Is it supposed to sound like kind of fancier, or I don't know. Because there's a Lestra, but that's a new oil. I don't know, must stand for something. But so these muffins are super moist, but not in like a heavy way. And you put, it's like a cup or 2 cups of water in with the batch of muffins. And you think there's no way this water is going to work into this batter, and it totally does. And you use just canned pumpkin. It's a good recipe. It's a very good recipe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 6. So I got some pumpkin mix because it's a good fall thing. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I don't necessarily make them, I don't know, I guess I make them in the fall. It's funny because like at the grocery store, you can buy pumpkin all year round, but I wonder how long that pumpkin sits there and waits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Certain things, you know, like the Durkee's onions for the green bean casserole for Thanksgiving just probably sit there. And stuffing. Cranberries are kind of seasonal. I make a really good cranberry bread too. It's got orange zest and orange juice in it, so it's real orangey, and it's also very like moist And that one is a denser, it's a lovely recipe. It used to be something that, I don't know, my mom got the recipe somewhere, and we used to make it occasionally. And then there was one Thanksgiving that I was like, oh, you know what, I think I have that recipe for cranberry bread. And everybody was like, oh my Lord. So now it's just kind of a tradition. I make the cranberry bread at Thanksgiving and Christmas. I have it ready for Thanksgiving morning so people can get up and have coffee and have a slice of cranberry orange bread. And then I make it at Christmas too. I love just traditions, that you're like, this is how we always make it. And sometimes you go somewhere and they don't do things the way you're used to doing things, and it seems like, I don't know, to me it's disappointing sometimes. Like if there was one Thanksgiving, it's kind of notorious in our family that we were invited to my aunt and uncle's house. And I think they were fairly newly married, and they invited us for Thanksgiving. And we walked in, and I remember it clear as day, and it did not smell like Thanksgiving in there. It smelled like food, but it didn't smell like Thanksgiving food. And so, and I'm not kidding, this is an actual story it really happened. We were like, oh, what's for dinner? And she said, well, I thought we'd just try something different this Thanksgiving, and we're having beef stroganoff. And there was no mashed potatoes, no stuffing, it was just kind of like various and sundry side dishes. And then there was no pumpkin pie, that she made sugar cookies for dessert. And it was a fine meal. There was nothing wrong with it, except for that it really didn't feel like Thanksgiving. And what can you say? You got invited over, and it was very, very kind of them to invite us over for dinner. It's just that, Thanksgiving means, to a lot of people, Thanksgiving means turkey, right? And sweet potatoes and things. Down here, I think a lot of people do sweet potato casserole, and I think they put like nuts and things in it, and it's kind of like it's whipped, like kind of a mashed potatoes consistency almost. And I haven't had it. That's not how we've always done it, and so that's not how I do it. We do a big veggie tray with like pickles and olives, and I do Ina Garten's. She's got a dill dip that I make, and it's like, cut up carrots and celery and cucumbers and bell peppers and things. And then we make whiskey sours that she is one of her recipes also. And it's kind of a nice little drink. It's fruity because it's got lime and lemon in it. We fresh squeeze the limes and lemons, and you put a maraschino cherry in, and it just kind of makes people's cheeks rosy, and everybody gets a little giggly. And it's not like we get loaded or anything. We just have a little, kind of fruity drink to sip on while we're making food and peeling potatoes and whatnot. And it's kind of nice. Thanksgiving is a nice holiday, especially if you like your family, because there's just, other than the food, it's just kind of a nice day. There's no, larger expectations than that. And it's coming up. I can't believe how close we are to Thanksgiving already. I got to get cracking on some of these Christmas gifts. But there's just not enough hours in the day. Okay. Well, I've been talking to you guys for about an hour now. And the cats are sleepy. Are you guys sleepy? Just kind of a nice afternoon. I've heard from a lot of people that they're working on things for Christmas, and I think that's cool. Some people aren't, some people are. Some people are already done, which is kind of amazing to me. Right, Z. Right, Z Bones. It is hard with 40 count and one thread to secure your thread under the back. I know you're not supposed to put your needle in your mouth, but honestly, I can't stop it. It's a lifelong habit. Oh no, did I not? I wonder if I could have got more stitches out of that. I don't know. All right, guys, I got to finish this one last thing and then I'll go. And I'll show you where we're at. And then I need to make some food, I think. What did I have for breakfast? I had a cup of coffee and some toast. It's not really much of a breakfast, is it? I love my little Nespresso maker. It's nice just to make one cup of coffee. And we have the little milk foamer, and it just feels like a nice little kind of fun experiment to make a little cup of coffee. We have this place in town called Grin Coffee, and their coffee smells really good. I'm not much of a regular coffee drinker though, but the guys really like it. We went there this week. Harrison wanted to pick up some Grin Coffee, so we went down to their location, and they were roasting coffee. And they're kind of cool guys, you know, they're like kind of the hipster, like one of them's got a big beard, and they're, you know, super cool. They were roasting their coffee, and it smells wonderful. So, and then their names are funny. I think one of them is called like Woohoo. They have a couple of different ways that they roast their coffee. Did I do this right? I think I did. I think I did 0. I'm gonna maybe work on some squares too for my quilt that I started with the class we took yesterday. It's an Alberta, it was called an Alberta quilt is what it's, and then it's using this new 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, yeah, I did it right. An Alberta quilt class, and it was using the new, it's called the Stripology Squared ruler. And, you know, the deal was, the class was, you know, like $12, and I think they, you know, pay the teacher out of that or whatever. And she was very, very sweet. And it wasn't a long class. It was like a 2-hour class, because it's really just learning how to use this ruler. And I think it's relatively new, and it's kind of like the, you know, clear plastic rulers that you use to cut, you know, fabric with your rotary cutter. And it's a big square. And so, you know, she had a deal where if you took the class, you got $10 off the ruler, or off this tool. And so I looked at it online because I thought, oh, it's, you know, kind of expensive. I wonder if I can find it cheaper online. And no, it's a $52 tool. So I was like, oh, you know what? So then if we're getting $10 off, it's a good deal to just go ahead and get the ruler there. And to me, online, it just looked like a clear plastic thing with a lot of lines on it and measurements. But the cool thing about it is it's got grooves cut in one direction, going this way. So it's got like a little, kind of almost like a teardrop shape, and then the plastic is just cut in increments, like 1/2-inch increments or something like that. And so what you do is you put your quilt block underneath this and you line it up, and you can get patterns that use this Stripology squared ruler that tell you how to use it. But what you can do is make multiple cuts on a square at the same time. And so, you know, we made squares that were just half one fabric and half the other diagonally. And then you put it under this thing and you make, you know, 3 cuts going this way, and then you flip it and you make 3 cuts going this way. And you've made a whole bunch of cuts, and they're perfect. Like, everything is totally lined up because this ruler has got the grooves in it. And so it was really neat. It takes just a minute for you to situate yourself. And then what she did is she had us put little Post-it note tabs where we were going to be cutting every square. And so that made it really easy. And Jennifer said, this is great. She said, this makes, you know, my squares look perfect. And my squares were not perfect because I'm not a quilter. I've done a few quilty projects. I've never taken a quilting class. And so I kind of still consider myself a beginner because I just haven't done a lot. I've used the sewing machine a fair amount, and I used to even make some clothes back in the day. But these days I pretty much use it to make, you know, ornaments and pincushions and things like that. And I really have been wanting to learn to use my sewing machine in more ways. I kind of would love to get a Juki. I don't need one because I have a perfectly lovely machine that I got 6 or 7 years ago. I got a Bernina, and it's, you know, kind of one of the base model, but it's a nice heavy duty, good quality machine. But I've been wanting to learn to make things with it, and so it was kind of fun to take that class. And then, like I said, I'm going to take this project bag class this coming week, and that'll be fun. I'd like to also shoot some video in this quilting store. It's called the Fabric Dock, and it's in Wiggins, and it is a cute store. I love all of the fabric that she picks out. She doesn't carry, that we saw, any of the Blackbird Designs fabrics, which I was thinking, I don't know. I mean, it's her quilt shop. She's probably aware of them. She carries plenty of Moda fabric. But it's just our local store. We have a local quilt store here in Hattiesburg, too, and she also does not carry the Blackbird Designs fabrics. But, yeah, she has lots of really cute fabric. Lots of the 1930s fabrics, and she's got a lot of kind of retro, like, you know, 50s style fabrics, especially, like, in the Christmas section. But she's got really pretty models, and she's very, very sweet. So I'm going to try to do a little tour on my phone and then post it next time I post a video. Zero, I got to show these people my square, and then we're going to shut the video off. Is that okay? He's so nice. Okay. We're going to show him. You can stay on my lap, I guess. Okay, so I got... There you go. You can see. I got the tree branch and the chimneys done while I talked. It's gonna be, here I go, like it's gonna be really, really pretty. I'm gonna like it a lot. And I like to frame in on things tight. So it's gonna be, you know, just like a little 1/2 inch showing all the way around. But there is something, you know, people talk about stitching with silks, and if you haven't, you know, maybe give it a try sometime. They're very, very smooth. You know, like if you've ever used thread conditioner, like beeswax or Thread Heaven, it's kind of like that without having to condition your thread. Like it's just a very smooth, silky, obviously silky. It's obviously a silky feel. There's just kind of a luster to it. You know, that kind of, your stitches kind of glow a little bit, which is cool. Right, Z? All right, well, let's see. I'm going to grab my mouse, and I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. And I hope you have a great weekend. And I will see you, you know, in about 5 days or so. Have a good rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.